What is up, you guys? I am going to be showing you guys 2 reasons for your belly fat today, because it's the number one thing I hear is like, Jess, when I was younger, I did not have all of this belly fat. And now that I'm getting older, I have this tire, I have this muffin top, and like, no matter what I do, like it will not go anywhere, right? And so I'm going to actually show you guys a couple of things. I've got a few demonstrations. I've got some labs I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you 2 distinct reasons that this could actually be happening. So if you're struggling with belly fat and it never used to be a problem when you were younger, there's a good chance it's one of these 2 things that's happening. So if you're here with me, whether you're live or you're on replay, go ahead and what should we put in the comments today? You know what we're going to say in the comments today? We're going to say muffin top. That's how I know you're here. That's how I know you're watching, that you're digging this. And I always know what to make more of. As always, as we're going through this training, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments. I always read your comments. I always respond to all of your questions, but also buckle up. This is going to be a little bit of a longer training, but it's going to be packed with really, really, really good information for you. Okay. So the first one that we're going to talk about is going to be as it relates to stress. And you've heard it a million times, right? Okay. If I'm stressed out, like, how is this making me, like, why am I gaining belly fat? It doesn't make sense, right? Cortisol is all the rage. It's everywhere. I mean, I talk about it. How is it actually happening? So I want to show you that. The second one I'm going to talk to is going to be related as you get closer to menopause. So perimenopause and menopause. And I'm going to talk more from a hormonal perspective, although stress and cortisol are hormones also. And we're going to talk about insulin and some of your other hormones as well. So it's all going to be related to hormones. But first, we're going to start with stress because I think it's a big thing for you guys. So here's the thing. As it relates to stress and cortisol, how does it make you store belly fat, right? So you've heard it, right? Your body goes into survival mode. It starts storing more belly fat. Well, like, how is that actually happening and what's going on? So you have an amount of stress. So let's say, here's the thing. Your cortisol follows a curve. I don't know if you guys can see these curves, but your cortisol, it rises in the morning and then it goes up, down, and down. It's supposed to, okay? It's possible for you to have high and low cortisol at the same time. So let's say this is your stress. And this is a normal amount of stress. So what happens when other things start to pour into here over time, again and again and again? And it might be emotional stress. It could be something like getting the flu. It could be breaking your ankle. It could be a lot of different things, but obviously it's going to start to overflow. So when your cortisol starts to overflow, a couple of things are going to start to happen. Okay. So now your cortisol is overflowing. You have too much of this hormone. Your body's going to start doing some things to try to keep you alive, essentially. Now, the first one of those is I want you guys to understand that your adrenal glands, they make cortisol, but they also make a hormone called DHEA. So if your adrenal glands are trying to keep up with all the excess cortisol, guess what they're more than likely not going to be doing? They're not going to be producing DHEA. Well, who gives a shit about DHEA? Oh, you should very much give a shit about DHEA, because DHEA is a master that turns into a lot of our other sex hormones. You can think of DHEA as like, if you wanted to build a house, it's like the wood that you would build a house with. So what happens if somebody's like stealing the lumber out of your backyard? Well, you're obviously not going to be able to build a house. So what you'll start to see is when this cortisol goes high, it's going to start stealing from your sex hormones. So these are things that make you feel calm. They make you feel grounded. They lubricate your joints. They make you have a sex drive, your energy, things like that, right? And then also once cortisol, after it goes high, eventually when you get to total burnout mode, your cortisol will actually be low. Because of our work, we tend to work with like women who have like are really successful houses, careers, families, like all of the things. Like we actually see a lot of low cortisol as well, which means this overflow happened a long time ago. All of their hormones have been pulled down, right? And they're in just like total burnout mode. So the other thing that happens is this is where the belly fat comes in. Cortisol is a glucocorticoid, as in sugar. So when you are dumping cortisol, your blood sugar is also going up. If you continue to do this over time, when your blood sugar goes up, your insulin goes up, which means it has to shuttle that blood sugar out. Everybody's heard of insulin resistance before. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. It tells your body to stop burning fat to start burning sugar. So I see all of the time, and guys, this is not a what you're eating issue, because I see women all the time, Jess, I'm eating so clean, and their A1C is pre-diabetic level. Healthy women, like women you would look at and be like, damn, and their A1C is pre-diabetic. It has nothing to do with how many carbs you are eating. You can cut all the carbs in the world. It's not gonna touch it. You can still end up insulin resistant. I see it all the time. I honestly, it's probably a quarter or a third of the labs that I look at are this. And this is not women that are sitting around eating freaking donuts, guys. This is purely from the effects of cortisol. Insulin resistance is typically marked by more belly fat. So cortisol, that's like kind of like some of the science behind it, how it's making you miserable, how it's affecting your hormones, and how it's going to start to create insulin resistance, which means you have an inability to burn fat. Guys, this is what I mean when I say it's not just about your hormones. Everybody's like, oh, I went on HRT and it didn't help. No shit, it didn't help, because those aren't the hormones that are the problem most of the time. Are they sometimes? Yeah, sometimes they are, but they're not the reason that you can't lose weight, right? It's these other hormones that like people aren't looking at, or they're using the wrong ranges. You know, like your doctor will look at your A1C and wait till you have freaking diabetes to talk to you about it. Well, that's bullshit, right? Because they're comparing you to 90% of the USA. 2/3 of the USA has a lifestyle disease, guys. Almost everyone in America is overweight. Like it's like 70% of people. So when they look at your labs, they're comparing you to all the other sick people, right? So that's part of the issue. So until you're actually insulin resistant or you're actually diabetic, they're like, oh, I don't know, everything looks good, totally normal here. And it's like, no, that's not okay. So that's the first one I wanted to share with you guys, this insulin resistance and how cortisol specifically does that. I know this is like a little bit sciencey, but if you have questions, drop them in the comments below, because I will come on and answer them. And I might even make you like a little video back showing you, because I can show you some of this stuff in labs as well. And if you haven't yet, if you are here, whether you're live or on replay, drop the word muffin top in the comments below, because we're talking about belly fat today. Muffin top is how you let me know that you're watching. I totally dig when you guys comment and I hear from you guys, because I make these videos for you. All right, so that's the stress, that's the cortisol piece. Without getting too in depth, just kind of giving you guys a top line. Now I want to show you, as you get closer to menopause, the other huge reason that your hair starts thinning and that we see belly fat. Now, this is not relevant to everyone, but it's relevant to a lot of people, okay? And here's the thing. So this is also why when your doctor says everything is quote unquote normal with your hormones, normal doesn't matter. You can have normal estrogen, normal progesterone, and normal testosterone. However, what matters most is the ratio between these. The ratio matters more than what the actual ranges are, okay? And I would actually take this one step further, and I would say your total testosterone doesn't even matter. I would say your free testosterone is actually what matters most. And nobody's checking for this, guys. They're just not, because they don't know, right? So here's a big reason for belly fat, especially if you are menopausal. And I'm gonna show it to you in the labs that we run as well, because the labs that we run, you get information that you cannot get in blood work, because it shows how the metabolites, so how the hormones are actually broken down by your body. And it's over 24 hours. So your hormones pulse throughout the day. So they pulse, and everybody's pulses are different. There's no kind of rhyme or reason to it. Some of us like pulse, you know, you can think of it maybe every hour. Some of us it's every few hours. So if you haven't gotten that, if you just get blood work and you haven't gotten that hormone pulse, it's not necessarily going to be accurate, right? So we test over 24 hours. So you can kind of get all of those pulses, and then you can see how it's broken down. But back to these ratios. So as you are going into menopause, obviously your estrogen goes down, right? If you're postmenopausal, your estrogen is really low, your progesterone is really low. So these two matter a lot. I talk a lot, I've shared with you guys about estrogen dominance and your E2 to PG ratio. I have a reel that shows you how to calculate this if your doctors run your labs. This is how you tell if your hormones are in balance. The absolute numbers don't matter really a whole lot at all. I mean, they matter some, but here's where the belly fat comes in. Have you guys ever, think about an old, men, where men typically gain fat. They get like we all call it like a beer belly. It's not a beer belly, but typically men will start to lose their hair and they will start to get a belly. We all know older men as they start to get a belly. They very rarely gain weight everywhere else. They gain weight here. So here's what's happening to you as a woman, especially if you're losing your hair and you have belly fat. Now, I just talked about stress and insulin resistance. You could actually have both of these things going on. Your estrogen drops, your progesterone drops for a lot of you. Your testosterone may not drop. It may actually stay the same. So you end up with a ratio of estrogen to testosterone that's wrong. You end up with a relative androgen dominance. Androgens are male hormones. We have them too. Testosterone is the most abundant hormone in the female body as well. You end up with an androgen dominance. And then you end up with things like male pattern baldness. And you end up with a belly like an old man. And you're like, what the fuck is happening to me? This we see a lot in menopause, okay? But you could also have too much cortisol. You could have insulin resistance because, oh, by the way, when your estrogen drops, you also become more insulin resistant. So even if you're not stressed and you're cool as a cucumber because you're retired or whatever, you could still have insulin resistance simply due to menopause. So you might actually have a double whammy. You could have number one, and you could have an androgen dominance. Here's where things get kind of nifty, okay? One of the cool things about the test that we run is, number one, you can kind of see it here. So this is an example of a client, and you can see here, her labs are technically, for the most part, in the normal ranges. So she's a little low estrogen, but you can actually see her progesterone and her testosterone. So if you look at her estrogen and you look at her testosterone, you can see that she has an androgen dominance. Interestingly enough, this client came to me because what she was doing, she was working with functional providers, and it was getting worse. She's losing her hair, she's getting more belly fat, right? And we're able to actually show her why and help her correct it. The other cool thing about the Dutch test is we can actually see how you break down your hormones. Now, this looks like hieroglyphics to you guys, which is fine, but we can see these pathways, and different pathways mean different things. So just because you have androgen dominance, well, if you go down one pathway, it's going to affect you one way. If you go down another pathway, it's going to affect you differently. So this is all information. We can even see how you detox estrogen. So this is really important if you have like a family history of estrogen related cancers. So you can actually get a lot of information that you are not going to get on blood work, which is pretty cool. So we can see like if this particular client was favoring a certain pathway, then she would be more prone to hair loss, androgen dominant symptoms, the belly fat, a lot of those kinds of things. So there you have it, guys. I hear a lot about belly fat. It's like the number one complaint that you guys have. And so I wanted to give you guys some background and some information because most of the time it actually is not the food you eat. Now listen, if you're sitting around eating McDonald's, eating like an asshole, then absolutely it's the food that you're eating, right? But most of you guys that come to me, like I never get women that are coming to me like not doing all the things. Jess, I'm working out. I'm eating clean. Like, yeah, I have a treat every now and again. I'm getting my steps. I'm drinking my water. Like, I'm doing all these things and I still have this belly fat. And 9 times out of 10, it's one of these two things. It's a cortisol issue. Remember, you can literally be pre-diabetic just from cortisol, like, and inflammation as well, right? It's either that or we have this androgen dominance, right? And that's why we run the tests to be able to see. And then we're able to actually bring the things back in balance. Because remember, with your hormones, number one, you have more than 2 hormones. So when you ask your doctor to like run a panel, it doesn't matter if they're in the normal ranges. The ratios is what matters. And the same thing, your cortisol follows a curve. So if they ran your cortisol first thing in the morning, it doesn't really matter what that says. What about the rest of the day? What about in the afternoon? What about at night? Like what's actually going on? And how is your body actually able to use this cortisol, right? So that's why we have like this metabolized cortisol. So a couple of things to get you guys thinking about your belly differently. Insulin resistance, cortisol issues, androgen dominance. Okay. So like I mentioned, if you guys have questions, please do drop them in the comments below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. Or if you're feeling bashful, you're welcome to send me a DM and I'm happy to have a chat with you guys about any of this stuff. But hopefully you found this helpful. As always, if you need me, let me know.